Hello, friends. I'm DJ Lance Rock, and I have to say, Rock and Roll Grad School is awesome!
This is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. When do they get to sing My Way?
So let's record an intro to grad school.
Yes.
I feel like we should keep this one brief, but maybe not. I don't know.
Well, because the episode speaks for itself.
Exactly. Hello, kiddies. We're going to have...
Did you just shush me, by the way? Was that to tell me to shut up or to tell you to shut up?
No, that wasn't a shush.
Oh, I think we should keep this brief.
Okay, right. That wasn't a shush. That was just...
Wow.
You know, all of this is going into the show.
Of course it is.
Right, okay. Hello, kiddies. We are going to have a, should we say, great time together?
The best time together.
I think this
best time I've ever had with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This has been the longest interview in the making.
It has.
I think 9 or 10 months we've been working on this one.
I mean, well, we've wanted
if
this.
If not a lifetime.
We've wanted this interview since years before we knew each other.
Yes.
We've had this interview on our list of wants for longer, and I'm going to give you full credit, even though you just shushed me.
I didn't shush you.
You have actively and attentively, in an appropriately non-stalkerish manner, been fostering getting this interview for 9 or 10 months.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We both saved all of our stalkerish energy for the actual interview.
You did. And yet they didn't hang up on us. So that's great.
True. Yeah. But we are talking with Jeff and Steven McDonald from the one and only Redd Kross.
Yes.
Who we allude to it a little bit in the interview, or a lot in the interview, but
a lot.
2024 is the year of Redd Kross.
One of many years of Redd Kross.
But this feels like a culmination of a lot of things. They have a new double album out, which I think one of them says, I've heard in interviews, how many bands make a double album for their 10th record together.
Yes.
They have a memoir, oral history sort of told by the two of them that is lovely.
Yes.
And on top of all of that, there's a documentary film about them that is playing theatrically right now. Check your local listings.
Yes. And as Sandy says at the opening of Grease, it's only the beginning.
Exactly. It does sound like there is more. There's some hints dropped throughout that I think are bode very well for fans of Redd Kross everywhere.
Yes.
So we are going to get to that. Should we just sort of enough of my yap and let's boogie and go to it?
Actually, no, we got to redo it because Danny says that. Sandy doesn't say that at the beginning.
That's the big thing.
That's the big thing.
But to get into the deep end right off the top. So Steven, in Stunt Queen, at the end, as the chords go up, the bass line does a little bit of a triplet at the end. And I'm just wondering if that was an intentional homage to John Cale on White Light, White Heat, that ding, 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 ding.
Steve?
It's not picking it up.
Steve.
Yes, exactly.
like.
Because it always sounded like the record was skipping. That's why, yeah, that was definitely an homage.
Okay, that was my big pressing question I needed to get over.
Yeah.
That was the fastest you ever got someone to do show and tell, Luke.
I know. There we go.
That's like the coolest ever. Well
Yeah,
done.
next week I'll be just summing the bass lines to Beauty and the Beat for the full half hour.
Right.
But
Ignore
in
it.
making this record, like a double album, there's nothing about it going through that one and then all your previous records, which one, as far as homework goes, happy to have it. It just fits in so well with everything that you've done in the past. Did you see this record as a sort of not culmination, but a gathering together all these albums and trying to make some sort of master Redd Kross sound?
I think that just happened naturally, but at the same time, it was such a year of reflection for us because the movie was coming about, the books were happening, and the book was getting ready to happen, and we just by the time we were done listening to the record, I was just very shocked at how much it did have the sound of like all of our records kind of combined, and that was not really intentional, but it was an organic thing for me. It was.
I think that just the fact that it's a longer track listing than we usually have, and that it's a double record, that we had more room to spread out, and just so inadvertently it ended up kind of encompassing being this cross section of everything that we're capable of. I don't really know that we had enough time and room to sort of show off everything that we can do. I don't really know if we can do anything beyond that. Well, I guess we could descend to complete noise damage, although we've
already done that
at the end of Stunt Queen and our homage to White Light, White Heat. But yeah, I think it's just because we had so much like a longer track listing, there's more room to spread out.
I feel like, so it's amazing. Like everything it's all amazing. Like we don't, as Luke always says, we don't give everybody a tongue bath, but we're going to give you guys a tongue bath because we're huge fans and always have been. So, but it's so fun. It's so good. But I feel like, and it's been fun to read the book, which Luke's going to get a rare compliment from me because we were so excited when it came out, and my birthday was, which I of course told everyone that you planned to release it right around my birthday. So I had several people say they were going to buy it for me. So I was in London on my birthday and passed it on shelves and was like, so I'm going to pick it up and read it. No, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Which of course nobody did buy it for me. And it was of course sold out. But in anticipation of our much anticipated interview, Luke managed to score me a copy and sent it to me this week. So I mean, it was literally probably the sappiest, most ridiculous unboxing of a book ever. If you need extra promo, I'll send it to you. But anyway, book was amazing. And all this to say, I've always felt like you always have just done what you want to do, basically. Like just you follow your gut, you follow what you want to do. Just you live in a world that who the fuck cares? We're doing it. And we're going to make it happen by hook or by crook. We're making it happen. And so now you're at a point where you're able to do that in a double album. So I think you're going to always have that space. Not that you're going to always want to do a double album, but you're going to just keep doing more and doing it, whatever length you feel like doing.
Well, thank you. I mean, the thing about making a double record is that you have to have the material, which creates with, you have to be prolific enough to have it. And that's something that we were rarely sitting on a stockpile of, material. But
but you might do a single album, but there's more.
But it's funny though, when we did make the double album, we were encouraged by a record label to not make the double record. So I like the permission that you just gave us. And, so that's where we went with a different record label for that record, because we went with the record label where the record label owner said, double record? Oh my God, I've always thought Redd Kross should make a double record. I was like, okay, great, we're done.
So that's why we went with In the Red on this.
Yeah, that's Larry Hardy of In the Red Records. But not everybody felt that way.
Well, they're wrong. frankly.
Right, clearly,
Um,
obviously.
but as almost drafting off of all this, attention you guys have gotten, it's got to be great to hear what people think about the band and what it means to them, and to both fans and others, fellow musicians. You've got Thurston Moore giving the nicest of compliments to you, uh, to just sort of hear everybody saying what they love about you guys. It's got to be nice, sort of, after it has not always been the easiest road for Redd Kross to get to this point where you're hearing people going like, yeah, these records really mean a lot to me, and this band really is important to me.
Well, it's always so great when somebody gets it or somebody enjoys it, especially if it's our peers, it really means a lot to us. But we just kind of had every record that we've ever made, we just kind of just wanted it to be something we would dig. Regardless if it was in fashion at the time, whatever music was going down, we always wanted to have, we consider records part of the legacy, because a lot of the records I listen to all the time are old records as well. So I wanted to be part of that, like I want to be a part of everyone's collection. And in order to be a part of everyone's collection, you have to make sure you do the best record you can do for that in that moment.
Watching the film, like there's so many things we're kind of covering, the film and the book and the album, but like watching the film, for me, I leave my body a little bit, and it's hard to be objective, and it's incredibly nice to hear people that I respect say nice things about us. But a lot of times, I'll have the negative voice in my head thinking like, oh, they saw that show. They're talking about that show that I hated, or that one record where I wish we could have rehearsed more, or something like there's some kind of whatever. There's that little devil in my head. But with the new album, it's really very gratifying to get the encouragement, because it's something that I'm really pleased with. It's something that's right now. It's landed the way I wanted it to. And to get just the encouragement is helpful. It is helpful. I'll admit it, because it takes a lot of heavy lifting to get the machine up and going, to do a tour, and to just keep doing it. Like when we made Researching the Blues, for instance, like we hadn't made a record in 15 years, and we'd been playing live, but we were kind of in our own little bubble entirely, and I had no idea if anyone would want to put that record out, and we made it in our own space. And I get it that Jeff has a sort of a singular idea about what things should be or whatever, and that's great, and I think that's really, really important. But then there's a lot of practical things that come into play, like hiring people to maybe mix the record, or recording, budgeting studio time, and all that stuff can feel like, is anybody gonna even care about this record? Is all this heavy lifting worth the effort I'm making? Like, it's hard to not fall into futility. And so like the encouragement, I mean, obviously it's good for the ego and all that crap, but it really does help to make it happen. And especially when it's not like we're not rolling in millions, it's like we're trying to make it a viable business too. So, yeah, I will say it's very gratifying to be, especially like at the end of year, and to see people's roundups, what records they were excited about, or what was well reviewed. I mean, I hate giving too much weight into like the world of rock criticism, but I will say it's much nicer to be on this side of it than on the ignored side or the criticized side. So sure, I'll admit to it. I need the encouragement.
Yeah.
Well, it's really interesting reading the book, because as you go album by album, it seems like, there's obviously some sort of artistic compromise at times, and things don't come out the way you're thinking. But overall, I mean, a lot of the records, and to your point, Jeff, making these records that are true to the vision that you guys have and the record you want to make, but that is also of the time. And I immediately hearkened back to Third Eye, and I would love to try living in a world where I don't know how to be your friend is like considered a classic of that sort of that balladry. Because I don't really like living in a world where it isn't a hit.
Or where
Uh,
instead every rose has its thorn is a hit.
Exactly.
The poison hatred that runs deep is so fascinating.
Well, I think it's more of a jealousy.
Wait, hang on. I have to go down a funny little like rabbit hole right now.
Yes.
Like after I finish this podcast, I'm gonna go do a jam session or a video for a song that I did the bass on, like, trading files remote, and the band is Jackie Fox on lead vocals.
Amazing.
Vicky Peterson is also singing and she's playing guitar. I'm playing bass,
Cool.
and the drummer is Ricky Rocket of Poison.
That's amazing. Wait, that is like okay, first of all, how there isn't like major stops for like with Jackie to have like pop culture trivia time, and then how like did you have some sort of like come to Jesus discussion with Ricky of how it's all where
Yeah, is that an awkward
weddings
elevator
now?
ride or
Is it what?
an
Is that
awkward elevator ride?
Wasn't it Jackie? Jackie was curated the whole
Oh yeah,
thing.
Jackie put it all together, and I don't think Ricky will be there, so that's why I'm a little bit
Oh.
like, and I don't have a problem. We met him once; he was very nice, but I'm not worried that
No,
I'm
but-
going to be face to face with him and he's seen this podcast or something or some
Oh,
other.
you don't know
podcast.
who listens to this podcast. You think you guys are late bloomers? Like we're late bloomers. Like we are
We're-
the
oh my
biggest
God.
podcast ever to like watch.
Well, but there
like,
won't have been time for this one to
like,
be out
no,
yet.
I don't know.
yeah.
Ricky
Yeah.
Rocket is like our biggest fan, and we
Yes.
send him advanced copies of every episode.
And Steve's been talking crap about Poison for decades now.
I
So who
know.
knows?
So
Yeah, but-
If
he
his
knows.
antenna
I mean,
are
he's
up,
read the
he's-
book.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to
They're
bring it up,
watching.
but if he's there, if anyone brings it up, I'll just be like, oh, we're just
Yeah.
That was the other one.
Right. Ricky's
Yeah,
read
that's
the
the
book.
other one. Yeah, exactly.
No, that's amazing. I want there to be some big moment, like the old behind the music, like when, they all like when everyone comes to terms with their nemesis and it all becomes friends.
Ricky
Right.
Rocket confronts Steve McDonald in Jackie Fox's living room.
Yes.
Hey, McDonald, we got the tip. We know you've been talking smack.
Right. But then when they cry, there's like crying and like, I mean, don't want to actually bring up examples because some of them were actually tragic. Like I started to go down a path, like with Leif and with some people. I
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Just end in a hug. Just end in a
Just
hug.
end in a hug.
Yeah.
But you know
And
what's weird? I just flashed on something. We were talking about Ricky Rocket, and think of it, Ringo Starr. Remember, there's famous interviews with him in 1963 saying that once the Beatles were dried up, he was going to open a chain of beauty salons.
Yeah.
That's what Ricky Rocket did.
See?
Wow.
I am
Wow.
90% sure that Ricky Rocket has hair salons.
Well,
Oh my
thanks for letting me know, because if
Or
he-
he's a hairdresser or
Thinking about,
something
like,
like that.
He
if
kind of
he's
should
like, where's
be,
that
though.
apology letter? I'm going to be like, I need to get my hair done. Where do I go?
I mean, Ricky Rocket should open hair salons because he had always had quite the coif. Like,
Yeah, he
Yeah.
had the best coif in the band.
right. And even like late period Ricky Rocket's coif is
Yeah.
like stellar.
And now I
Yeah.
know what I'm going to be Googling when we hang up. So
Yeah.
this will be
Yeah,
great.
I mean,
See,
I
thank you for
think
that.
I don't know how I could have made that up. There has to be
Similar.
truth in that.
There
Well,
has to be
also
truth
with
in
the
that.
drummer of the Ruddles did it too, Barry Wong.
Yes, he did. Totally
Very, very
did.
true.
So Ringo,
is
Barry
amazing.
Wong,
And Ricky Rocket.
and it's a great tradition.
I mean, that could be a whole other battle of the network stars right there, is if all of those salons could come together and have some sort of showdown for the best styles.
Wong,
That would be incredible.
Rocket.
All drummers.
All
Exactly.
drummers.
That's got to be drummers. Yeah. Bunny
I mean,
Carlos is the dark horse, I think.
Yeah, I wonder
I
if
think-
Bunny Carlos is considering. Well, Bunny Carlos has he doesn't have much hair,
Hmm.
but I
That
mean,
makes it even better.
But he can devote himself to other people's. That's how.
Right.
Interested in others there.
Those who do not
I
have.
could see
Dude.
him doing a bouffant with like a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
That'd be
Exactly.
amazing.
ashes falling in
Yes.
loft in the
That would be like almost like almost like the Edward Scissorhands sort of topiary styles
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
out. Yes, this is
An
amazing.
artichoke.
Yes.
That's a lost opportunity, because that would have been a really great little scene in that Dream Police era Cheap Trick video.
Yes.
See, this is all making
Oh,
sense now.
So
Of
as I try
Bonnie
to,
doing like a beehive with a cigarette hanging out.
Yeah, with my, just like a little flat, just a little quick little cutaway. Dropping
as I
ashes in the
This
hair.
makes perfect sense.
as I try to steer back on track.
Sorry.
But
see,
no,
Luke ruins
but
everything.
no, wait a second. I
This
can
is what
connect
he
these
does.
things. I can
Okay.
connect these things. Give me a second.
Go.
One thing that I think both Heidi and I equally love about your music is the interest and love of pop culture and the unabashed love of records that perhaps other people put down. The fact that on this most recent tour, you're closing with the 1-2 punch of Crazy Horses straight into Deuce. I mean, that is a wild swing for a lot of people, but for you guys, it's just Tuesday night. And it's so interesting. Was there ever any pushback? Because you talk about the other bands you were coming up with and you're playing with, notably Black Flag is your first gig, who were just like, what the hell are you doing playing these, doing
Well,
Partridge Family songs?
No. I mean, the only kind of people that, the only people that would criticize us for like being, slaves to television would be people like, Henry Rollins at the time when he first became a poet, and then maybe like, like a Jello Biafra would be critical. I don't know, he never was, but I mean, those are the people that would be offended. But you just kind of learn, like, France has the French cultures and its architecture, and all the works of art are in a museum. But for us, if we recognize it, it swims all around us. It's all there for the taking. Our contribution to culture.
What was the last part? What did you just say?
I said as Americans, our contribution to culture is, it's just you pick it off the ground and take it if you want it,
So the French have the Louvre and the Mona Lisa, and we have Cindy Brady.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is like,
Absolutely.
you can reject popular culture and feel fear and feel that it destroyed your life or it traumatized you on some level, or you could bask in it. And then actually, that's true patriotism. And if you're an American, is to actually understand what we contribute to the world stage.
And maybe that's what it is, that we just as a country need to appreciate our own natural resources.
No, and the thing is, we abuse artists in America. So no artist ever gets a free ride in America. So everyone's already a bit angsty. And then we also, anything we create that's interesting, we instantly throw it on the trash heap when we're bored of it. So, there's a lot, it's like living in a cultural thrift store.
Right. Don't you think, like, I don't think there's such a thing as, like, I live and die by that there should be no such thing as a guilty pleasure. Like, I don't feel guilty about any of that. And I owe you a lot of credit, Jeff, because you proved to me that there was someone else on the planet that still remembers that Going Coconuts exist, because we went to see Donny Osmond this summer.
It's his birthday today, isn't it?
I believe it is, yes.
Oh my God, December 9th. I saw that right before I signed on to you guys. I'm like, Donny Osmond's birthday. I have no idea why I know
It's
that.
right around now. I think it is today, though. I'm pretty sure it is
Many
today.
happy
We have
returns,
to look it
Donny.
up.
We'll have to
You
confirm.
have to look it up
Yeah.
because it is right around. And we went to see him here in Detroit, not in Vegas, on
Yeah.
tour, which I think has extra credit. And I wore Going Coconuts t-shirt, and people I went with are like, wait, what? What is that? And the concert was amazing, by the way, and everyone needs to go see it because it was unbelievable, out of control, amazing. So all this to say,
But where did you get a Going Coconuts t-shirt? That's what I wanted.
I had to get it online, but I specifically looked it up, and I think I got it on like
Redbubble.
Yeah, Redbubble. It was one of those. So
I
it
bet
probably
you that
wasn't, but it
movie
was awesome.
Going Coconuts is probably like, like the rest of, the golden age of Hollywood is probably lost to time. I've never seen it streamed or in the back
Luke
pages of
found
a
it.
Prime.
No, you
of
had Luke had
Amazon.
to find it.
You got to go
see
onto
it.
YouTube. You got to
Yeah,
go to some
I,
nefarious dark
I have two
alleyways.
questions. Well, I have one question and then one statement. So yes, December 9th, 1957 is Donny
Thank you.
Osmond's birthday.
Okay, what's
See?
what's
Yes.
going on with my brain?
We should be having cake.
So
See?
that's great news. So I don't know, my math is eluding me, but he's in his 60s. But I forget what the birthday is. 64th, I don't know. But and then also
Oh.
did Donnie play did he also close with Crazy Horses?
He did play it. I don't think he closed it though.
But he played it?
Yes.
Oh, great.
And he did this whole massive medley, like halfway or early on, which was great because it was this whole like screw you to the audience, but it was really lovely because the audience is full of naysayers of people who are like, they're like, are you serious? You're making me go to this Donny Osmond concert. He did this enormous medley that was 20 some minutes long that went through his entire career that started with when he was little and went through all the Andy Williams stuff, went through all the Osmond stuff, reminded everyone of all of his stuff with Joseph. He did a rap, which actually worked, and had all this footage, talked about Masked Singer, talked about all of his talk show, like all the things he's won, all the money he's made, all the great things. I mean, but it was lovely and sweet and wonderful. And then he pulled out this thing where he played with his band and went to people in the audience and said, you can pick any song that I've ever done on any album with my family or otherwise, and we'll play it. And I'll sing a few bars of it right now.
Wow. A few bars. Okay. So he wasn't tagged with doing the entire.
No, plus
Okay.
that would have done, but it was incredible.
Wow. Well, that's because I'm
It
right
was
now,
really cool.
I'm thinking like, I mean, all artists always feel like they've got something to prove, or they always, you can never rest on your laurels. But
Right.
Donnie has really he's dealt with a stigma for decades now.
Right.
It's always got to be uphill battle for Donnie, even at this like age of respect, I would hope for him.
Right.
Because you're saying like all the plus ones, they all have folded arms. Like someone got dragged to this concert in almost every car.
Yes.
And right. And so he's up there. He's not just basking in the goodwill. He's still trying to unfold arms.
Well, and he's also past the age. A lot of those stars of Donnie's caliber go through a period of where they resent the past. So they have to get past that. And then when they can embrace it and then really, own it.
Yeah.
Sure.
He was super cool. So I highly recommend going to see his show.
So was that, I was in Detroit.
He was in Detroit, but he's in Vegas still. And he's like, wins all the Vegas, top show to see or whatever.
I'll have to go.
Yes.
Thanks for that pitch.
Yes. But back to you guys. I didn't mean to derail us, but
No,
I felt
again,
How did his voice
Thanks for the
sound?
tip.
amazing. He was great. He sounded great. And he was dancing and I mean, he looks great. Like he's had it just didn't work, but it's settled and good.
Yeah, he's always kept it kind of together. The other Osmonds really let themselves go.
They kind of did.
They just turned they just kind of turned into like old man. Like really
Donnie
early.
was selling it. Donnie was selling it. They were free to go like,
they returned to
out
being
a claim
barbershop
jumpers as much as they wanted or whatever.
Right.
But Donnie was saddled with selling it all those years, and he's not a bitter drug addict now, like he should be,
right?
With all that pressure on him for all those years. I mean, it's like, what, people really need to give it up to Donny Osmond. I mean, like, because Donnie suffered all of the same kind of pressures that Michael Jackson did, in many ways, and are the early years for sure.
Right.
And
for sure.
And he has come and to hear that he is still like swinging for the bleachers that's great.
It's cool. Like we left like super happy.
No, that's
really
awesome.
Just like really happy.
That makes me happy.
Well, Stephen, aren't we going to Vegas to do the punk rock museum tour?
Yeah, I'm going to stay in the punk house, but maybe we can
go see Donny Osmond at the same day.
Yes, you have to do it. You have to let us know.
Okay.
We'll keep an eye on Instagram for the live walk.
I will reimburse your tickets. I will buy you t-shirts, whatever. Just whatever to make it up for you. But I promise it'll be worth it.
Okay, great.
If
That
he's in
sounds
town, we'll
like a
get an
plan.
invite to him to come see our documentary. We'll see if
You
maybe-
have to.
You never know. He might come.
Well, you know what the really weird thing
Yeah.
about the song Crazy Horses is a strange phenomenon because, okay, obviously Redd Kross fans, they're the deep divers who've been with us, they know it's Crazy Horses, Osmond. But then sometimes we're playing to kind of just rock crowds in Northern England or something where they're not going to necessarily know that. And everyone always digs it on its own kind of heavy rock merit.
Well, they probably
which
think
is-
we're doing a Sweet cover in Northern England.
Right. Totally.
No, it's interesting. I played the Osmonds version for my 12-year-old who loved it and is recommending it to his band. Like, guys, we gotta bust out Crazy Horses.
They do it. Everyone should
yeah,
do it. I
Exactly.
think the Dictators did a cover of it. I recently found out.
That's amazing.
That is, yeah. So, Jeff, you mentioned in the book that you kind of bypassed a potential side gig, side hustle as a stage director for shows. Is
Well,
there
I'm s-
anything
you
for
know-
this past tour that you were kind of like, "Oh, we can't afford the UFO to borrow it from George Clinton?
Right.
What else can we do?"
Well, no, it's more about like friends of ours that have made it to that status where they can afford shows like that, or acquaintances who don't do it. I mean, like like for instance, like the Foo Fighters or a group like that. I mean, if I was in charge of their performance, it would look a lot different than it does. And I'm not putting down anything that they do now, but I'm just saying,
Right.
when you know people who are in that position and they're not taking it to full advantage of it, it's confusing to me but we grew up with the major arena shows. We grew up with Alice Cooper and Kiss, and it's but we haven't yet had the opportunity to do a show on that level. But you never know. Someone might want to bankroll it for a concert film. Who knows?
I want to play the Dome in Vegas. If you were able to program
Yes.
that sphere or dome, or
Yes.
whatever it's called.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm curious to know what kind of imagery you would put us in.
Oh well, yeah. Well, I have to keep that close.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
you gotta.
Well, I
keep those
remember
notes.
when we were touring with Stone Temple Pilots, Scott was, obviously kind of insecure guy, and but he was really sweet, and he was a big Redd Kross fan, and he used to apologize to us for. He thought that we were judging them like, with folded arms, like rock stars with this stage, and they had two gigantic lava lamps, like 20-foot lava lamps on each side of the stage. And Scott was sort of embarrassed about it. And Jeff said to him something to the effect of like, don't apologize for that. If I had it my way, I would enter the stage on a floating bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich. So, a BLT.
But I am available.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I don't
good to put it
mean to
out
give
there.
up too much of your views, Jeff, but I caught that one going directly to Scott Whelan's ear.
Yes. It was
But-
funny the other night, not to break down, but the other night, I was talking to a very dear friend who is actually my former fiance, who's still a really good friend, who is a major fan of yours. And we had a whole conversation actually specifically about Scott. And this was before my book arrived. And he was we were both huge Stone Temple Pilot fans as well. And he was talking specifically about Scott and Scott's love of you guys and how he always felt that Scott almost wished in some ways he could be in Redd Kross, because that he felt like from following his career, he felt that he almost sort of followed in some ways was kind of the things he was doing and the more interesting things he was doing in his career were almost sort of following a little bit the path of what you guys were doing, because he was such a huge fan of yours. And that was some of the stuff that we really loved of Scott's beyond of STP, but like what he was
Right.
doing that was so amazing. And so when I read the book, I was like, oh my gosh, like, and everything you say about Stone Temple Pilots and him and everything is so lovely. And how many times you compliment how amazing they were to tour with and work with. And so many times you're like, they were so great to work with. They were so good to us. They were so awesome. And so
They
it was
were. They
fun to
were,
hear that
and
back to him.
And with Scott, it was just like, I was just amazed at like what a great singer he
Oh
he
my
was
God.
and what great taste he had, and how he could
Yes.
kind of like, he was the only one of that kind of generation that could go from Robert Plant to David Bowie in like the flip
Yes.
of a switch.
Totally.
No
so
one
true.
else could have. And it was just always, and it was such an interesting package. So I just, I always
You should
admired
have
it.
popped
But
the question.
but it's always the grass is greener, it's like,
Right.
it's someone's always thinking, oh, that person, I wish I was cool like them, but like, oh, I wish I, was headlining arenas like you.
Right.
Right.
Is that always in everything we do? It's always that,
Yeah,
right?
But I will
exactly.
say, I was fortunate enough to accept Redd Kross into my life in 93 or 94. And I saw you guys open for the Lemonheads.
Oh,
And
cool.
one, you blew them off the stage. And I did not know of you before the show. And within moments of you coming out, I believe, Jeff, you were wrapped in tinsel and sort of dangled it out over the crowd as they tore it to shreds. And I was just like instantly going, this is my favorite band. I just met them.
Oh,
And so, there is the stage presence that you guys, I mean, Steven, I don't know if I would classify it as bass face, but what you were doing on that instrument is something, it,
signature bass.
yes,
Yes.
exactly. Copyright bag
Like that.
face. Yeah. That it's just so fascinating to see you guys this year, and that aura, that kind of swagger is still there, and just makes you fall in love with you guys all the more, because you do walk this fine line between, we're kind of making fun of it, but we're also, it just looks cool. I mean,
Yeah, well, I
there's
mean, certain aspects of, the rock performance, the rock stage. I mean, I'm not saying tongue in cheek, but you obviously have to approach it with a certain sense of humor,
Yes.
and
That's
yeah, I
you should
mean,
approach everything with a certain sense of humor.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
exactly.
life, right?
Because
uh,
life is absurd. Like, you guys have lived an absurd life. I live an absurd life and haven't done nearly the stuff you've done. It's ridiculous, the random things. The fact that we get to talk to you is absolutely ridiculous, that we
Well,
have the opportunity to be with you.
oh, thank you. But it's weird. I usually don't like labels for myself, but I have to say it. The one label I relate to the most, absurdist.
Right? Yes.
That's maybe one I can relate to.
which is perhaps the I don't even know what the fabric was that you guys used for Annie's Gone, where you sing the third verse
Oh,
behind it.
that was the we call that the shroud.
Yeah, I mean that
No, I
it
call this.
works.
It's the sparkle shroud.
It's the shroud. We
That's
found
much
it.
better.
We found it in Milwaukee. It was
It's
hanging on a wall at a
perfect.
gig in Milwaukee, and the person who was working with us, Lee, he handed it to me, and I just put it on my head for the song, and then it ended up in my guitar case. And then I kept saying, I'm going to retire the shroud thing. I'm going to retire the shroud. And then when we go on our next trip and next tour, it's back in my guitar case.
Oh,
So
sweet.
once it's there, I can't.
I
Now
didn't
it's kind
realize
of,
that Lee and that's a Lee influence.
yeah. Oh, that's the
That's the
story
shroud.
of the shroud. And so now I notice when I prepare the shroud to wear it during an Annie's Gone performance, now I lift it up at the corners before I put it over my head, and it's kind of starting to disintegrate in my fingers. So it will decide when it's retired,
Well,
not
maybe
me, because I was going to end that long ago.
well,
No.
maybe when you guys get to the punk rock museum, you can just have it raised to the rafters there.
That would be incredible.
No, it has to go back to Milwaukee.
That's true too.
Has
Yeah,
to go
maybe that's a
home.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame item.
Mm,
Oh, it could be. But
Yeah.
it could go back to be with the Fonz.
Right.
So not to sound overjealous and overzealous, but I'm going to. What do you guys have planned next? I know, Steven, a good chunk of 2025 is spoken for with your friends in the Melvins, but do you guys have plans to kind of keep going on this, or do you, right now, the thought of taking another stage, writing another song just makes you want to, run out screaming into the wilderness?
Well, it's something I'm kind of trying to figure out right now. I mean, just this morning I was lamenting about the fact that we got all this momentum going, which is hard to do between the album, the book, and the movie. And now I don't really know how to build on it. It's like I've kept my head down and I've just been like plowing forward and moving as fast as I can, trying to keep all the plates in the air or whatever the metaphor is. And now most of that stuff is done, except for I'm still trying to get paid for Europe. And that's, oh my,
Yeah, it's always
That's
something.
that's
oh
always
my
a
God.
delight.
But at any rate,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking for windows. I know that we didn't get to go to Australia and Japan this year, which was a big goal. So I think that's definitely going to happen next year. Might happen later than I want it to happen. There's a few windows. It's hard for me because I have to have my day job,
Of
and I
course.
love playing with those guys as well. I mean, but at the same time, I think about bands that have gotten to places that I still want us to go to. And they've done that by consistently releasing a record, like some bands now, I mean, like every 18 months or something. And, which seems daunting and like out of our character. But, I don't know. I know that I'm bringing, hang on. I know I'm bringing this guitar on the road with me, which is my travel.
The
Or it's
wow.
a tiny little thing. I wrote,
Adorable.
yeah, it's great. I wrote Way Too Happy on it while on tour with the Melvins in
That's
23
awesome.
or whatever. And I know that's one of the things I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to start writing and writing and writing, and then hopefully maybe there'll be time to do some tours. But then if not, and so much in 2025, definitely 2026. And I mean, Jeff hasn't heard this yet, but like I'm having an evil plan to get us back into the studio at some point. So, and I already have like 5 songs, Jeff, or 5 close to songs. So there you go. There we go.
I mean,
So I'm trying to make us our dysfunctional look like, you know, curiosity of a band. I'm trying to turn it into, I'm still trying to see what it can be.
Make
yeah,
you guys
you're-
legit. Yeah.
we're going to need those for the Sphere.
Redd Kross's self-titled double album is available right now wherever you get your music from In the Red Records. Their memoir, Now You're One of Us, The Incredible Story of Redd Kross, is available from Omnibus Press. And finally, their film, Born Innocent, The Redd Kross Story, is screening across the country this winter into the spring. For more information, check out that website, reddkrossfilm.com. And of course, for more information on the band themselves, check out their website, reddkross.com.
Rock and Roll Grad School is produced by the Professional Production Company. Please be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, because your impassioned review is just as honest as us standing backstage waiting to come back on for the encore. For more information, you can check out our website, rockandrollgradschool.com. And like everyone else, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Today's show was recorded and produced by Heidi Hegquist and myself from our world headquarters located on the 2nd floor of the professional office building, centrally located downtown. Our reluctant executive producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing executive producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thanks for joining us. Good night, drive safe. May all your favorite bands stay together.